I mean, I'm waving.
Yay, we can hear you now.
Yay!
All right.
All
So do you
right.
want to tell us, we're doing good with technology today. Retell us your story, why you are here and what makes you qualified to talk about this. Tell
Okay.
us more.
Okay. So, as I was saying before, I'm a convert to Islam from September 2011. I actually came into Islam through practicing Buddhism, funnily enough, and uh, love Islam. I love Islam. I love how the normative framework of Islam, what is written, what is meant to happen, is beyond perfect. But as a new Muslim, you suddenly realize that what is meant to be and what is actually done are two very different things. So, as a new Muslim coach who wants to work with new Muslims who have having an issue in wavering faith because the theory and reality in their life is not in sync, then one of the other sides of that is often because sadly a lot of reverts are actually getting into really toxic marriages
Mm.
with ethnic Muslim born guys that Muslim by name, not by nature.
Yeah.
And so today's talk is based on the authority both of professional authority. I have a counselling and psychology background, or counselling background, trained and practicing counsellor and degrees in psychology, and personal authority by the fact that I'm sad to say, new Muslim, got roped into a very toxic marriage with an ethnic Muslim-born guy, and
Yes. But
that
it's good that
was
you're on the other side of it now, though.
I am a year on the other side of it and back in
Amazing.
Australia, and because I packed up my stuff and ended my life here and moved over to Pakistan and did a couple of years there, and that was eye-opening to say the least.
Hmm.
And yeah, then I've been back for a year, and in the year of healing, grieving and healing,
Yes. That's
I've
the important part of the
huge
process,
part,
isn't it? Yeah.
huge part. Yeah, please, any
Yes.
women out there who are in various stages of extricating themselves from a unhealthy marriage, be patient with yourself. I
Mm.
tell you, I lived. There's a homeopathic medicine called Rescue Remedy. You can get it at any Priceline chemist or chemist warehouse kind of thing. Bach Flowers Rescue Remedy. I swear I probably should have gotten shares in the company for the amount of stuff I bought of that, because it's bucket loads. You just keep both, and it's like calming, and
Yes.
it takes away the shock and the anxiety and the grief and calms everything down. I swear, it's brilliant
I
stuff. I
love
wouldn't have
that.
survived without it.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
But yeah, a lot of tears, a lot of self doubt, a lot of rewiring after the gaslighting and all the
Yes.
rest of it. And I sit here today with you as my first live webinar, as my premiere to the world as a new Muslim coach, hoping to be able to be of service to other women, to preferably to prevent them from going down the road I went down.
Or getting out of.
Oh, but well, look, yes, sadly, there's a lot of that. But if I could just prevent a handful of women from, you can see Mount Everest is high, you don't have to climb it. So,
I love that.
mistake, don't make them. So today is the start by saying, and within the Islamic context too, because
Yes, I love
that's
that.
what's so beautiful is we have such a brilliant guide, both of our prophet and what God has told us is the way to behave, and it's so clear and so perfect, and we've just got to get the men of the community to actually do it.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
another story,
For
militant.
sure. Yes. And you know what? I think not many people know what your page is. Your page is Manifesting Muslimah.
Yes, it
And
is.
we'll put the links on there. At the end of this, we'll also put, or maybe we'll put it now actually. I'll put it
Yeah,
now
please.
as a
Yeah.
link where you can actually um, get the ebook that we're going to be talking about today. Um, free gift.
You're putting it on the original
I'm
on your
putting it on our,
event.
well, hold on a minute.
Where,
That was
where
the
we?
video. That's good job me. I put in the wrong one. Hold on a minute.
That's okay.
I'm doing well
Yeah,
today, everybody.
it's okay.
Doing well today. I'm putting down your sign up to get your free little gift that we're talking about. So this little ebook, we're going to be talking about this in this talk now. It's coming up. So when you register, make sure you register, follow the instructions. There's a confirmation email, and once you've confirmed yourself, you'll get the ebook download. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. So it's going to be a handbook. So if you've got pen and paper, don't worry about your pen and paper. You can get the ebook for free. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to pin that little baby on the comment section so you can download that. So let's get started on the 5 warning signs that you are in a toxic relationship. So
Brilliant.
Tell me.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the first thing to sort of say before jumping into what the signs are is just to understand what a toxic relationship, sort of what that means when we say that. And you know, a toxic relationship, like a healthy relationship, is one where both people are feeling peaceful and tranquil and are able to show mercy and compassion and loving kindness. There will be maybe disagreements, but that they manage to, you know, talk about the disagreement and work out compromises. And that's what healthy looks like. A toxic, you know, you kind of, we'll go through what some of the signs are, and these are only 5 signs. There are many signs, but before talking signs is about what does it feel like. And a toxic relationship is one that actually makes you feel that's what healthy looks like. Confused, a toxic, you know, anxious, you kind of physically you can be sick, you know, nauseous and all the rest of it. Many signs, but before talking signs, you're not happy. You're not able to think straight. You're not. You feel, well, you just basically feel like you've got to tiptoe because nothing makes sense. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you're feeling any of those things, ladies, anything like that, you just don't feel quite right. It's just an adding up. That was the big thing for me that I was noticing is like, if something doesn't add up, it's because it's not, you know, because the equation isn't right. So, like, you know, he'd sort of say or do something, and it just, you know, you'd find yourself wasting a hell of a lot of mental brain power afterwards, kind of go, but what was all that about? And if you're constantly finding yourself doing that, this is not a good sign, because you shouldn't.
You got to listen to your gut, don't you?
Yeah, like, totally.
Your gut, like, you know, the butterflies that you have in your tummy, or the knotted feeling in your tummy, there's a reason for it. And I think a lot of us ignore it and thinking, oh no, that's just me being anxious or feeling a bit worried. But there's a reason why we feel that way. And a lot of us just push it down and go, no, it's nothing.
Yeah, because it's not meant to feel like that. When someone's straight and clear and honest and consistent with their thought, word and deed, it flows like a river. It just flows without any obstruction, you know. And if it's not feeling like that, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. So the whole premise of, like, when you're in a relationship, there's something that doesn't feel comfortable or doesn't feel right, then that should be a sign for you to dig a little deeper and find out what the deal is, and see if there's something that you need to confront or something that you need to deal with as a couple first, and do what you need to do as a couple first before you can rule everything out.
For sure. And I think one of the signs, I mean, talking as a couple first, I think a good indication where you might be dealing with someone who's, toxic in their behavior is that they actually don't want to go into couples counseling. They don't want to work on something. And so that's also a big sign that if you feel like, if you present them with, this is not feeling okay, can we talk about it? Can we work on it in some way? And they don't want to.
They don't realize that there's an issue there.
Or they do. Well, actually, for my one, he realized that there was, but that was fine by him. That was
okay to be treated that way.
Saying that's your problem, not mine. And a partner says to you, that's your problem, not mine.
Gaslighting, yeah.
Totally. You go,
yes.
And actually, it is important to note that, like, it's your feelings. If your gut feeling is like, maybe someone else, another woman in the same marriage, if another woman was married to your husband or whatever, and she might not have the same problem. Like you might feel uncomfortable about something, and that's fine. It's all about you and whether you feel happy or comfortable with something. Your limits and boundaries and what makes you feel okay is going to be different to someone else's.
Yes.
So kind of trying to maybe get asking, putting it out there to other women, other friends, relatives, and that, how would you feel about that? Well, some may be okay with it.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that it is okay, and the fact that you're not okay about it is all that's important.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And knowing that everybody has different boundaries, because my boundaries are probably different to your boundaries, and that's totally fine. But knowing where your boundary is and where someone crosses it is also very important as well.
Yeah. And a loving spouse, male or female, when you present them that, look, I have this boundary, and you've crossed it, if they don't respect that and make amends and seek to do things differently, this is not a good thing, because that's the sign of being, positive regard and loving kindness and mercy is to shift and change a little of how you do things, because if your loved one feels that it's not appropriate for them.
Yeah. I love that. So shall we talk about the first sign?
Absolutely.
The first sign is a pretty big one. So if you guys haven't downloaded the ebook, you can later on. I've put a little link there, and that will give you just need to go through the confirmation process in your email, and then you'll get this. So if you are having a pen and paper out, you can put that away. You can listen to us, because we'll give you all the notes that you need.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first sign, I thought I'd start with the really obvious.
Yes.
It's obvious to me, maybe, and this is maybe the problem. It might be obvious to me. It may not be obvious to someone else, and so hence why it's mentioned. If your spouse abuses you, and that can be emotional, physical, verbal, spiritual, sexual, and I know that comes a bit iffy in some Muslim communities, the notion that a husband could sexually violate his wife because of the belief that, it's his right. Well, we'll get into that. It's not how he goes.
Let's actually touch on that now. Actually.
Yeah.
This is a good topic.
It is.
I deal with this a lot in terms of the questions that I get, and about a husband violating their wife sexually. That the premise is that we need to give ourselves to our husband, because if we don't, then the angels will curse us.
Oh, all that jazz. Yeah.
But
within the context of that is the other hadith where the Prophet actually says that any man who does not fulfill his complete obligation of care and mercy and justice to his wife, let alone is abusive during the day, should not be thinking that he would
have the right to
lie
approach
with her
his wife.
At night. He's treating her less than a donkey. So this is not, and if everything, touching back to the very, very beginning, the thing, putting this in the context of Islam is because Islam's framework for marriage and the conduct between a husband and wife is absolutely perfect.
Yes, it's based on compassion. It honestly is based on compassion.
Justice. The hadith which talk about one level above of the husband to the wife. It's not authority. It's responsibility of care.
Yes.
And so his duty is as caretaker, and this is in everything. This is physical, spiritual, sexual, financial, the whole. Emotional, the whole thing here, and it must be done with patience and kindness, affection, attention, the whole thing.
Yes.
And so, if a husband is not doing this, then the wife cannot possibly be considered being disobedient.
Yeah.
Because like when they talk about in Surah An-Nisa, they talk about disobedient wife, or the not good wife. The only reference to that is a wife that's committing adultery, funnily enough. Because the good wife is good in response to the husband that is fulfilling all his duties.
Yes. And it's interesting you say that, because I think, as much as I love to talk about taboo topics, but I just want to bring up that rape is possible in a marriage.
Of course it is.
And people don't realize this. Like, there are some cultures that think that that's not possible. And this is, the whole understanding of rape, or sexual assault, is that it's an activity that happens without consent, and this is what it means. And it does happen, and it doesn't, just because they've come to you and you're not right for it at that present moment in time, for whatever reason, it doesn't mean it's okay.
Of course not. No. So first of all, you need to remove from the equation the false belief that it's the husband's innate right to just sort of have it any old time, any old way. It's because that's not true, and that's not how it's represented by the prophet. He doesn't. He talks about, in fact, talking taboo subjects. In fact, the wife's sexual pleasure is equal to that the husband. In fact, he's not allowed to just like go wham bam, thank you ma'am, and not actually
allow her to like finish whatever she needs to get to reach climax.
Absolutely. And so surely if that is there and mentioned, then surely it must be done in a way in a way of care, consideration, love that builds the tranquility and the mercy between the husband and wife. So anything that's coercive, there's no coercion in this religion. No coercion in religion. So surely there'd be no coercion between a husband and wife. This is not Islam.
It's just like when we get married, it's like you're not supposed to force someone to get married.
You can't. It makes
the same deal.
Not valid. The marriage is actually, the nikah is not valid. If you did not sincerely, with all your heart, marry that person with all good intention, then the nikah is not valid. So, it's really important to sort of understand that if there is any level of coercion, be it emotional, physical, verbal, spiritual, as we said, sexual, and then financial. There's financial abuse as well.
Financial one's a good one. Can we talk about that? I know we got really deep really quickly with this conversation.
I know we do. Hi guys, this is what we're like. Okay.
Yes, but we need to talk about it because these are the things that nobody really talks about, it's so important that we have it out there, that we talk about that rape happens in a marriage and that it's not okay. So let's talk about the financial abuse aspect of it, because financial abuse people don't talk about either. They're like, oh no, that's just because we're budgeting.
No, not at all. Again, these are talking to the husband. For every morsel of food, item of clothing, or whatever that you put on your back, you have to give to your wife. It's there, and the sadaqah in your home. You've got to make sure that, so all these, so there's a big sort of mentality going around where, they'll give more than a third of their income outside, and say this is charity and this is, important, but then leave the family without,
adequate
needs, and then own a little bit of luxury, which frankly is there's nothing wrong with having a little bit more than just the bare essentials. We all need that.
Absolutely. And you've brought up a good point, because a lot of women who come to the point where they realize that they're in a toxic relationship sit there and go, oh my God, I have no money.
It's frightening. I've got to actually say I was one of the benefits for me in, I guess, as a convert and coming in, marrying into an ethnic Muslim-born community, is that I came with my own money. I actually got to say, well, that is one of the financial abuses, is that it's the husband's actual God-commanded law to provide for his wife.
Yes.
And so if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're paying for everything, them and you and everything, and this is not cool, this is not okay, and it's abusive.
Exactly. And that people don't realize it. They just think that it's just a matter of budgeting, but we need to be real about this. We need to be real about that. So so we talked about financial abuse, sexual abuse, spiritual abuse. This is a big one. This is a big one. Explain to me spiritual abuse. We're only up to sign number 1, by the way. Let's talk about spiritual abuse.
That's okay.
Love this one.
Well, again, coming from the perspective of a new Muslim, and so we come in, some women may not come into Islam with maybe the same level of intellectual rigor that thankfully, I did. So I was able to see it when it happened and counter it. But a lot of women, Muslim born or not, don't know their religion enough to
Yes,
necessarily
or
be
their
able
rights.
to,
Yeah.
or their, well, first of all, not know their rights. Yeah. First big right is when, first big right that got me into trouble was that I made sure that on the nikah document there's question 18 that's having the husband delegate talak to you as the wife. And most, I understand now, most of the ethnic communities, they just, the Maulvi, the Sheikh, whatever, are like, crosses everything out. And like the woman's like, and like I had researched it before I went to Pakistan, so I had a real, you know, that's going to be ticked.
Yes.
You know, that I have the delegated right of talak, because if you don't behave yourself, I'm not going to stay. So alhamdulillah, I did that, but you need to know your rights.
Yes.
But spiritually, yeah,
they will bully you spiritually, and they'll use scripture to make you feel small.
You're being the big one. You're a disobedient wife.
Yes.
Disobedient because you're actually standing up for yourself and going, this is not okay. You are abusing me, and
yes, and they bring up that you're being disobedient, and that that you're going to go to hell. That,
yes, yeah. But for that, girls, you can throw back at him, and there's the hadith that for every tear the wife cries from the husband, the angels are biting at his heels or something.
Wow.
So, you know, don't worry, we've got one back on them. So just
well, this is the thing. Like, they will use stuff to dumb down the situation, and then they will use religion to make them feel like they're much higher up than you, and like, what do you know? You're nobody. You're just a convert. You don't know your rights. This is what it should be. So basically, they're trying to put you in a box so you can just shut up and stay there.
Yeah.
And that is part of the spiritual.
Or that you're, well, actually, I didn't get the you're a convert. You don't know what you're talking about. I got, because I just, you know, I chose Islam. And I fundamentally believe that our barakah is connected to our obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so every time I learned something was made, you know, and I do also fundamentally believe that, you know, anything, you know, if you're in doubt, don't do it.
Yeah.
If you're in doubt, don't do it. I mean, there's like completely, you know, don't do it. Right? It's just to err on the side of caution. And so, yeah, I got told that I was an extremist.
Yeah, well,
Taliban.
Yeah,
because I wanted to pray on time 5 times. I'm going, like, the adhan's go. Why don't you pray?
Yeah,
like you're still on the computer playing games. Like the adhan's going. Come on, seriously.
I think if you look at that and you put your trust in God, and you put your trust in the scripture, I think it's really important that, you know, there's going to be, when you marry into a religion, or when you marry someone that has a different culture than you, they may have had a very different way of being brought up. And even though they may be born a Muslim, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the best Muslim.
Yes. He said very generously.
Yes. Okay. And then we have emotionally and physically abusive. So these are very general ones, and we're quite aware of what these are. So physically, obviously hitting, slapping, kicking, those.
Strangling, shoving, and frankly, anything
that hurts you.
Yeah. There should be only softest of contact, anything that's,
it should be gentle, it should be consenting, and that's the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And emotionally, and that would be saying things that don't
well, mean, insulting, neglecting, the gaslighting, emotional abuse, being lied to constantly, infidelity, that's an emotional abuse. You know, there's this array of, again, anything that makes you feel scared, uncomfortable, anxious, sad, depressed, you know.
Yeah. And it's important to note that as humans, our natural state is happy, calm.
Absolutely.
And
totally. Yes.
Yeah, that's our natural state.
And that's what the marriage is, and God says that the marriage, the what should be going on between the husband and the wife, and the union is one of peace and tranquility. Yes. So if it's not peaceful and tranquil, it's not being done properly.
Exactly.
Basically.
It's important because, like, I don't think people think that living anxiously and in a low mood is normal. And this,
Mm-hmm.
as human beings, we were born, as a clean slate, and we are in a normal state. We're happy, we are content, we are calm. But somewhere
Yes.
along along the lines, it kind of shifted. We were conditioned in a certain way to feel
Yeah.
differently. So if you're in a marriage and you don't feel that way in a marriage, you need to question stuff. You need to be
Absolutely.
comfortable in a marriage, as in, like, your someone had just put a comment on here to cloth her from the same cloth the cloth you cloth yourself, and to feed her from the same food that you feed yourself from. So
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
exactly what
Yeah.
John had put on there. I'm just looking at the comments,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what it is. And you need to
Yeah.
be comfortable. Like, there should not be any kind of tension going on. If there's
No.
tension, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that in a marriage you don't fight. We fight. We're
Oh
human.
yeah.
We're allowed to
Yeah.
fight. But
But it's not. But the fighting is fair,
yes,
and
with a resolution.
resolution, and there's no, you know, believe me, he honestly starts name calling you,
Yeah,
B,
that's
C, the whole,
yes.
this is just,
That's not fair fighting.
it's,
That's a win-lose, or a
yeah,
lose-lose. And
yeah,
what you want to do in an argument is that you want to have a win-win. And when we have a
yeah,
win-win, it means that we come to an agreement to meet in the middle. And
yeah,
that's an effective argument with a spouse. And
yeah,
if you're in a toxic relationship, it will always be lose-lose or win-lose. And
yeah,
that's not what
yeah,
you want.
no.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go to sign number 2. We touched on it a bit on sign
We
number
did, we
1.
did, we did. So
Yes.
I put tie number two, as your spouse is a compulsive liar.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, yes, that's a doozy, that one, because it completely and utterly throws you. I mean, you spend most of your time and energy trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
It's like it's like your life is just 1 and 1 equals 3, and it's not cool. You can't live like that. And so,
Yeah.
and then from that, because you're sort of, if you keep catching out, I mean, it almost
Give us
gets to the point.
examples of what you'd catch, like a toxic spouse in, like what kind of examples and lies
Oh,
that they
let's
may
see.
tell.
Well, let's see that they would not be. They'd say they'd be going to some place, or they'd be wherever, and that you then would find out a few days later that they were somewhere else. You'd either
Ah,
find out because you saw the message on the phone between them and then, or some other. I don't know about you, but for me, God never leaves anything unrevealed for me
yeah.
for very long. I've never actually had to go snooping, because it just kind of just opens itself up to me.
Yeah.
So I must admit, the poor guy, he could never really get away with terribly much with me, because he just kind of like open up and like, oh, right, okay, so and so and so and so said that you and so and so, and then you present, and they're a compulsive liar, because you basically, they keep doing it, so you just keep
Yes.
them out. Um, they'd be, big one was the smoking.
Yeah, right.
Had a couple of miscarriages in the 2 years of the marriage. I had 2 miscarriages, and one of the medical evidences is the husband needs to stop smoking, because it fractures the DNA in the sperm, apparently. So,
Yes.
I begged him to stop smoking. And instead of stopping smoking, he would continue smoking, but he'd lie.
Yeah.
He'd like, I'm going to go get some milk, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to do that. And then inevitably, I just, towards the end of the marriage, I'm like going, I just knew this
Yeah.
gut, this feeling in the heart, that I knew that he was lying straight to my face and
So
just going,
it was just stacking up.
it was just stacking up to the point that, they couldn't even be bothered
Yeah.
fully concealing the fact that they,
Yeah.
because it just becomes quite, it almost
Obvious.
comical. Well,
Yeah.
almost comical, except that
Yeah.
it's not. But yeah, and
The
so
compulsive liar thing, right? It's very interesting, because I mean, I've seen it personally in my own life,
yeah,
and it was in the case of having another wife,
ah,
and
yeah,
that happens. I mean, not with my husband, but like with my parents, it happened in that case where there was
yeah,
another person involved, a third party, um and there was, there's a lot of hiding and stuff like that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it becomes very difficult, because when you start hiding stuff from your partner, it becomes uncomfortable. the spouse will start to question, jealousy
Yeah.
gets involved.
Yep.
So the whole compulsive liar thing, and when you keep catching them out, that is a big sign. It's like,
Huge, huge,
yeah,
huge, and you just can't tolerate it, because what actually happens to you as the as the spouse has been constantly lied to, is you actually become toxic yourself in becoming sort of overly checking. I mean, no, it's technically, no, it's not cool to look through someone's phone or check their emails, and that's just really, it's rubbish behavior, and you don't want to live like that.
yeah.
Now, I mean, the fact of the matter is you're doing it because this person is constantly lying to you, and it's just, you're trying to make sense of this completely insane environment that you're in.
Yeah.
But then you just got to take stock and go step back and go, hang on, this is really,
This is weird. I should actually be trusting them.
This is really bad. Which you can't. No, you should have to. I mean, you should have trust.
In a good relationship, there should be trust. Yes.
Trust is earned.
Yes.
That's the other thing. A bit of the narcissistic sociopath. Yeah, they put it on you that the problem is that you're not trusting, and you'll go, no, I'm pretty trusting. I flew halfway across the world to marry someone. That's a whole lot of trust there. No, I don't have any trust because you've proven yourself not trustworthy.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then who wants to live like that? No one wants to live like that. That's horrible.
It's hard work, isn't it?
It is. Unnecessary waste of time and energy. So if you're finding yourself checking on your spouse's phone, email, following them to work or something or whatever,
Wow, I could not be bothered doing that.
Who could be? This is it. Big red sign.
That's a big warning sign.
Warning sign.
If you were hunting around there, for something there, maybe there is something there, maybe there isn't. Oh, look, who knows?
I'm sure that there is. I'm sure that there is. There's no point.
Yeah.
There's just no point, because like at the end of the day, the sociopath is hiding things and compulsively lying to get what they want and do what they want without being accountable.
Yes.
If you and believe me, because it happened, honestly, you'd have the written, God, you could almost have them on video or something. You present them a day, and they'd still manage to try and do a crab dance around and
then blame you.
And blame. Yeah. So it's like there's no point. And it's unhealthy, and this makes you go mad and crazy, and that then feeds into their already gaslighting, telling you that you're mad and crazy because, well, duh.
So it's a spiral thing, and this is a thing. Like when you're in a toxic relationship, it's like it's pretty much you against them, and it's your word against their word. And if they have a backing of a toxic family as well, it makes it even worse, and it just makes you isolated, and you kind of feel stuck. And unfortunately, there are ladies who have committed suicide over this because they found like there's no way out.
Totally. They, I mean, as I said, I feel really, alhamdulillah, that I always had the financial independence. I mean, I came, I was the one providing. When the good thing about that, I guess, was that I had nothing to lose. Well, I had only everything to gain, frankly, because just on that level alone. But I had the ability, I that didn't worry me. I knew that when the penny dropped and I just, instituted, and I'm just like, God, get me out of here.
Yeah. So that was it. That was like, was there a point where you were like, this is too much?
Yeah, totally. Should have been the first year. I actually came back to Australia to visit the family in the first year of marriage. So, and I visited in September, and that to catch up with my daughter for her previous marriage before I was Muslim, for her birthday. And I came back, and I almost didn't get back on a plane and come back. But funnily enough, as a convert, the reason that I think one of the reasons that I did go back was because it was just so hard to kind of admit that, I mean, it's not hard to admit the abusive husband thing, because we are kind of in a secular society, we're kind of aware of it. But to have to admit that a Muslim guy is doing this, when as a convert you're already having to defend the fact that you've become Muslim and defend every other, and then it's in the context of
that is deep.
Islamophobia, and then suddenly it's like, oh crap, if I admit to this, then it's just feeding into the stereotype that everyone believes.
What's the repercussions of me admitting this?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is
And
very profound.
So, you know, I went back for round 2.
Just to test the waters and see what else
just see what we could
do.
Please, girls, no round 2.
Don't. Take the hint the first time around.
And if you manage to get out, don't go back. Honest to God, they're not, because believe me, they don't see the light. They don't. Oh my God, I almost lost you. And treat you.
No.
Because the thing is, if a husband is right and he's a good man and he's godly, God-fearing, and knows everything and is loving and all the rest of it, then he's not ever going to treat you bad in the first place.
Yeah.
So to ever think that they're suddenly going to, I don't know, see the light and start treating you well, it's just delusion, and they're not going to.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that they're not going to do that. I've seen that some people say that people change, right?
Oh, they have to want to.
They'll have to want to. And this is the thing. And a lot of people think that they go into the marriage thinking that they can change someone, but not realizing that it's about us. We can't go and control somebody else. We can't change them. We can try and influence them with our own attitudes and the way we live our life, but it doesn't mean that we can change them. And that's something I learnt a few years into my marriage, because I was a bit dumb. I was like hoping I could change my husband, but no, he's his own person. And it came as, thinking that what I did could influence him and stuff, but I mean, he's a nice dude and he was just doing his own thing. And I think a lot of people think that they can change someone, or maybe they didn't know who they were when they got into the marriage. I don't know. But know that change only comes if someone's ready to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it serves them to change. And see, if you were dealing with a toxic person, and, generally in the form of, narcissistic sociopath, it serves them to behave the way they've always been behaving. And they can be charming. They can do the whole, and that I guess is also the hard thing when you're in that kind of, is that it's not like they're crap all the time.
Yes. Well, that's it.
They do.
They have good moments. They have good moments.
They do just enough to make you sort of think, oh yeah, okay, there's potential if they just. But see, once you realise that those moments of niceness have got absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yes.
And nothing to do with you personally or their love for you or anything like that. It's just, it serves them. Yeah. And once you realise that, then you understand that then the behaviour is never going to change. Because it's never about, you are an extension of them.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. That's how they see you. You're not this woman,
this is
independent.
Typical narcissistic behaviour.
Yeah.
And so talking about that point, your sign number 3. Tell me about sign number 3, because that just relates to that one.
It does. Yeah, definitely. Husband is disinterested, uncaring, and dismissive. So basically, I would be experiencing the case of when you're in the company of your husband. He's got the mobile phone in hand 24/7 when you're with him, and he can't hold a conversation with you without this black slab in between you and him. And the minute it rings or pings or whatever,
straight to it.
Straight to that, and you're just required to wait.
Yes.
But when you're not with them and they're out and you ring or text, and they're with their mates or whatever, they've gone AWOL. Yeah. And because the phone is not in their hand, it's in a jacket pocket that's on the back of a chair in the other side of the room or something, and they're just oblivious and take.
So there's no kind of urgency
for you. No urgency for all the friends. Heaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heaps.
So there's
so this disinterest, and it's disinterest in you.
Yeah.
And so if you are trying to have talk to them about anything, I mean, I'm talking conversations that are always like deep and meaningful or whatever. I'm just sort of like anything. You saw something on Facebook that made you laugh, or something, just whatever.
Similar interest conversations.
And really, even when you sort of go, okay, they're not interested in you, but so you try and be interested in what they're interested in, even though what they're interested in is pretty lame, you still try to learn it. But even that doesn't engage them to put the phone down or get off the computer screen or whatever it is.
For sure.
look you in the face and give you
to actually have a conversation where you're connecting. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not all about what do you want for dinner. It's not just about serving, right? It's about having a deep connection with your partner, because at the end of the day, if they're the right person, you're going to spend the rest of your life with them, and that's what you want to do. And when you're spending your time with them, you want to have a deeper connection. You want to be able to have a conversation that has meaning. You want to have that conversation where you can connect on a deeper level and be able to be vulnerable, because I think one of those things with people who are abusive or who are narcissistic, it's all about them. It's all about serving them. And if someone else is upset, they get a bit uncomfortable. They're like, "Oh, why are you upset?" Ooh.
Yeah. Big one. And they'll either evade it and leave, and if you press them a little bit further, explode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they'll turn it into, instead of focusing on you to help you through whatever emotions you're going through, they'll turn it onto themselves and want their attention onto them. And then you're left there with all these emotions that you have to stuff down, because he now needs attention, because he's now having a moment.
He's having a moment. Always having a moment. Anyway, pardon me. I shouldn't be. Look, I think from my experience, one of the, and I think as a convert to, and maybe it's my nature, it's my convert and my experience, and just the disappointment. It's just this deep disappointment at the divide between what Islam says and a whole bunch of men. It doesn't even matter what the ethnicity is, doesn't matter how old they are, doesn't matter what socioeconomic demographic they are. They all see, this is from what I experienced, so many not walking the path of the Prophet. And it makes me a little bit rebellious and a little bit militant. I would like to see a big shake-up in the Islamic Muslim social structures that seem to not make men take account.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how to do that, but that's aside from working with women.
Yes.
It's because working with women is great, and mopping up the harm once done is great, but I'm all about prevention. Yeah. And the ultimate prevention is men behaving properly.
It's to get to the root cause of the problem. And it's interesting that you've brought that up, because when we talk about this, I think it's important to realize that there is some work going on in that, but it's not that much. But I know it has started. But the conversation also needs to start with the Muslim leaders as well, to be aware of this, to be aware of mental health, to be aware of past pains that haven't been dealt with. And the people that I've spoken to who are in the counselling field that counsel men on these issues where there's domestic violence involved, where they're at the brink of divorce, or they're divorced and they want to get access to their kids but they can't because of domestic violence issues, when they've spoken to them, more often than not, the issue is from their childhood, that they were told that they shouldn't be vulnerable, that they shouldn't cry, that men are superior to women and women should serve men. So these core issues go to childhood, and you're talking about going to the root cause of it, and the men can have these issues, but us women can't actually see that. We go and see that they are terrible people, but they're also people who have feelings and emotions that were conditioned from childhood. And
totally. And that's why I think there needs to be a proper connection between what Islam says and how it's taught and woven into cultural communities, because it's just the advice given in Islam about how to behave and how to get over upsets and all the rest of it. It's all there. It's really clear. Yeah. And the instruction for being a healthy man. I mean, what better? I mean, the Muslim community has Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as their guide. I mean, if you can't get it right and have healthy masculinity with him as a guide, I mean, God.
Oh, you brought up a good topic: masculinity, and femininity, and knowing that we all have our place in this world, which is totally cool. But I think that sometimes the masculine and the ego takes over more than anything, and we have to also realize that women can do this too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
I think knowing that both masculine and feminine energies are quite different, and both men and women can possess both as well.
Yep.
So, and that's a whole nother conversation. But
It is. Yep. Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
but ego does take over a lot of stuff when we're talking about narcissistic relationships as well.
Yeah. And I want to, just before we move on to the next point, say I'm, I guess, coming at it from the dealing with a narcissistic, sociopathic, abusive husband, because that's, I guess, where I've come from and my experience. And no doubt, the kind of man that you were talking about, who maybe was abused himself as a child. Because you'll find a lot of narcissists, you look at their childhood and no, they weren't abused. They came from perfectly fine families and they had everything. It's actually not wrapped up in, it may well be a psychological, mental tweaking kink in development of as a womb or something, chemical balance of some sort.
It could be a mental health issue for sure.
Exactly, because you'll find that a lot of sociopathic narcissists are not coming out of abusive families or anything like that, and they've had everything overstayed, but they walk around with this sort of kind of Ferron sense of entitlement, which is a very different feeling to a man who was not raised.
You can totally close your eyes and imagine that, the walking around with the chest out and the...
And I hate to say that a lot of the ethnic Muslim communities are raising their sons to be little Ferrons and not little prophets.
Yeah.
Peace be upon him.
Yes.
And this is really, really, really disturbing.
Yes. And it's interesting you say that. And this is the thing that I like to talk about. And I think that there's other parenting coaches out there that would say the same thing, is about how we parent our children and how now is the time that we break cycles. Now is the exact time where we've got the information readily available on the internet. We don't have Encyclopedia Britannica volume 24.
Yeah, where you have to lug it off the shelf and take it to get a copy. No, none of that.
Yeah, we've got the internet. So we don't have the excuse to not parent our kids properly because the information is there. And, if you need to get help, easy to find help. Google search it, right? So, I think it's so important to understand that our job now as people in this generation is to break cycles. And, you brought up a good point about us raising boys, and I've got 2 boys, and I make it really a big point to not baby them, and not have that sense of entitlement, because I don't want them walking around like that. No, because that would just drive me insane.
Prophet, peace be upon him, he did housework.
Yeah, exactly.
He did housework. He served the women of his household.
Yes, exactly.
He didn't just sit back like, get on or whatever and sit there going, bring it on. And
different.
A lot of the communities are kind of, I saw that in Pakistan. I saw that virtually every family that I visited, they've got the sisters and the daughter-in-laws and whatever
buzzing around the men. So this is the Pakistani culture where the women would be serving the men, and the
men would just come in, and the men would just come in at any odd. So they're sort of like not sure when to cook dinner because the guys just come in whenever they.
And then you'll be like panicking to go get stuff ready.
Get that, and or it's suddenly midnight and some blokes come in and they expected to be, I don't know when they were allowed to sleep, frankly, because they are required to jump up and serve. I'm like, buy a microwave. They can go heat it up themselves. Oh yeah, no.
That's funny you say that, because like at my house, there's a rule in my house where like 8 o'clock kitchen closed. Like,
to me, that's actually was abusive.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's abusive because of the
why wouldn't it be? Why? Like, what? Who jumps up? Exactly. Who jumps up to serve in the middle of the night?
Exactly. She should be able to end her day. She should be able to go to sleep at night, not live in fear that some boatload of cousins are going to suddenly turn up, and she's required at midnight, 11 o'clock at night, required to pull out the biryani or something. For God's sake.
It's the best. I'm just imagining it right now.
Oh, please. Thankfully, again, I guess the benefit of being a foreign woman, I I wasn't required to partake of that, and I was working, so frank, I just had to put up with being disturbed by a really noisy household at 2 and 3 in the morning, and I'm like, with these people, I'm getting up to go pray Fajr, and they're just finally going to bed.
That's crazy.
And I was mad. Anyway,
crazy.
That's another story.
Wow. That must have been an adventure and a half in Pakistan for an Aussie girl.
It was. I've never thought myself to be an overly organised person, right? And then I suddenly felt very German over there, and a particular folk compared to what's going on. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Crazy. These people have no sense of time.
Oh, I think that might be an Asian thing, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And an Arab thing, like the time thing is like, I'll meet you at this time, but it like an hour later.
Is that real time? Is that actual time?
Yeah, I don't know which time zone they're talking about, but yeah.
Yes, well, I realise I'm terribly British, polite society and all. Yeah, anyway.
All right, so number 4. This is a big one. Sign number 4.
It is, and the way I've expressed it is really important, because a lot of us just think infidelity is just sexual, zina.
Yes.
And unless he's actually physically had sex with someone, then it's not infidelity. And
Tell us all the levels of infidelity.
I have started with flirting online.
Yes.
And flirting online, it could just simply be messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily even saying we're seeing the nude pictures put in there, but just simply messaging. It's not
messaging with intent.
Islam is really clear on the boundaries of interaction between men and women that are not, mahram to each other. Very clear. And it's to be formal within hijab and purposeful and not in private. And if you're a spouse, you have, frankly, no right whatsoever to be messaging some other woman behind your wife's back without her consent, without her knowledge and involvement. Forget I've got female friends and all this sort of thing.
It's interesting you brought that up. It's very, very interesting, because I'll refer back to my own experience from my family where there was a third party, and the whole premise of I don't need your permission comes up, and the whole thing like, it's my right to do this, that I can have 4 wives, the usual I can have 4 wives comment, and every Muslim woman knows this. And it's interesting that it comes up. It's very, very common for it to come up that I can have 4 wives. However, everything else around it doesn't really add up. You can have 4 wives, fine, but are you treating your wife correctly in the first place to be able to get another one?
And actually, I'm going to really blow that I have a right out of the water immediately.
Share with us.
It's not a right. It is a highly restricted, conditional permission. And it is in relation to orphans and widows, wartime. And in fact, our Prophet wanted to wipe it completely, because in the time and the context, the social context that it came, there were harem. So there were men having hundreds of, concubines and all the rest of it. And so, he actually wanted to rule it completely out, but was, advised by God, through further revelation to, sort of, the reason it's mentioned at all is to limit what was going on to only 4. But then the clause, the huge clause.
The conditioning is very strict.
This conditioning is it's for orphans that are in your care, that have come of age, that are no longer, like when they're no longer mahram. They're not mahram to you. And if you've got an orphan girl in your care, and she can't be married off to someone else, and she has no other way of being taken care of in that context, pre all these other financial abilities for women to take care of themselves, then it was permitted to marry the orphan, and it was widows at time of war. But again, we live in a social context now where we have so many other services and financial aid, so that's really not a reason. But the big clause is God saying that a man will never be able to do justice, so marry only one. And then you look at the real...
They miss that, don't they?
the major sunnah of our Prophet, peace be upon him, was his 25-year monogamous marriage to Khadija, peace be upon her, who was older than him, his boss, and financially independent. Hello, and she asked him to marry her. Hello. And he was monogamous 25 years till her death. So, like, you know, and if any man out there,
they just ignore that. They ignore that.
Just ignore that. And my understanding is that this notion of, oh, well, I've been chatting. See, zina, there's levels of zina. So if you're chatting with another woman online or at work or whatever, in some other context, behind your wife's back, without her consent, without her involvement, and she, you know, and you're chatting away, you're committing zina. Any marriage based on a level of zina is suddenly not valid.
Yeah.
So this was not about validating mistresses.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so disgusting when we see men sort of, and actually it annoys me when I see some sisters sort of going, when there's a talk of the husbands committing infidelity and they're suggesting to the wife to encourage them to get married so they're at least halal. And I'm going, it's never going to be halal. Something that didn't start halal is never going to be halal. The nikah isn't going to be valid. What are you talking about? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you know, this is why we have all the rulings around how we communicate with the other gender.
Absolutely.
And when you talk about even texting, I think it also, the understanding of the texting the other sex is that that there's emotion in it, that there is intent of something for it to grow, and that is a complete, you know, that is where you know that that's a warning signs if you come across those, you know, those conversations.
I know that we work and study along men, but in hijab, and hijab is not just the head covering, it is the conduct. They are to lower their gaze, we're to lower our gaze, and that means that our interaction is formal, open, public, and just for the sheer utter necessity. And I would even suggest that if you are, say, at work or studying and you're in a mixed group and you need something to be done, ask a member of your own gender first.
Yeah.
Really, you know,
just like seeing doctors, you know.
Just exactly. Exactly. If you really, so there will be times where you can't. I understand
no choice,
that. And then in that case, everything is done above board, formal, and there's no he, chatter. What movies do you like? What oh, I like that too. Oh, you're really wonderful. Sharing. No, this is out of bounds. Completely out of bounds. And so it starts with flirting. Online.
Flirting online, and then offline, where does it go? It goes offline, where they meet up for coffee.
All the rest of it. And then, of course, there's the sexting, which is now all the latest rage among young people, apparently.
Don't know why they do that, because everything can be copied. That freaks me out.
It's insane. Completely mad. Don't do that. No.
How about the big one?
Well, see, pornography's there, prostitution is there, mistresses, and I have put secret polygamy. It's not permitted.
That's exactly what happened in our family.
It's not. It's not.
And I actually don't think it's fair for the other woman either.
Well, it's not. So I'd actually say for all the co-wives out there that are sort of getting into a situation, I mean, I get a bit annoyed at that, because I kind of go, well, where's your self-respect to actually have gone and spoken, you know? I mean, it is really frustrating that we as women actually have to ask a guy, are you already married? I mean, frankly, you have to now. Don't assume that just because he's asked you to marry you that he's not actually already.
But I've had a lot of sisters come to me and say, oh, but he wants to keep it a secret. And I'm like, ding, that is a warning sign.
It's actually not
permissible. Don't even go there. You know, that is the biggest warning sign. If they go, oh, I want to keep it a secret, I don't want my wife to know. I'm like, then you have to have some self-worth here. If you're in a relationship with them, then you are in a relationship with them.
Yes. And the first wife, where this, she doesn't need to give permission, maybe, well, first of all, I'd like to know if that's the correct translation into the Arabic that no one really understands, because they don't speak Quranic Arabic. So there could be a whole discourse on whether it's actually that they aren't required to give permission. But I know in Pakistan now, by law, you do actually like NADRA, the Births, Deaths and Marriages Department, it is by law required to have the written permission of the first wife. And if you don't have that, now, of course, okay, men will get around all sorts of things if they want to, but technically speaking, they have to have the written permission of the first wife to marry another person. By law there now. So,
and I think, it's also very important because, even when, I always make a joke about this, but, before I got married, I made a condition with my husband that if you want to get married to another one, you can, but I get to choose her.
I think I did. Yeah, I did that too. But then I thought about that later on, just said, no.
But I knew that my husband can't even handle me. So then he's like, I can't even handle you. What do you think that I'm going to handle another wife? So I was like, okay, then that's cool.
Yeah. And this is where it comes back down to God-fearing men, because God's really clear. You'll never do justice. So marry only one. You're probably never going to do justice to you. Even if you attempt, even if you're really a good man and you're pious and you're God-fearing and you're trying to do justice, you'll never really be able to do it. So you think that you're going to do justice across, multiple wives. Yeah. You better be rich. All I've got to say is you guys, you better be rich.
Even if you're super rich, can you divide your time up equally?
No. And the reality is the first wife, she's always going to lose something. And suddenly she's got to, live with the concept that you're off in bed with someone else. That you expect to come. No way.
Yeah.
No.
It does, for some people, they may say it works, but I've spoken to many that are in polygamous marriages or polygyny, and they have their own issues, for sure.
I'm sure that they would. God has said one spouse is hard enough to deal with.
Exactly.
But I don't understand. Like in the West, we'll move off this, but I don't, legally speaking, in the West, it's not legal. And so my understanding of Islam is that we have to follow the laws of the land we're in, so long as they don't ask us to do something haram, and it's illegal. So, so again, I wonder how can they be people who are doing this in Western countries where it's illegal?
I know how
it can work because you're not following the laws of the land.
Yeah, they're doing it.
It's not like it's a fard it's not fard.
Yeah. They're doing it off the books. Obviously, there's there's one legal wife and the other ones aren't.
Well, instantly there's no justice to the second wife.
Exactly.
Their child is illegitimate. She's not. She doesn't have access to superannuation and insurances and all the other requirements of financial security that the first wife has.
Exactly. Interesting.
So, sisters, please don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. Warning signs.
Warning, both of you.
Warning. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Not saying that, you can't, but there is a lot of rules around it that, that you have to be aware of. All right. So sign number 5. This is a big one. Yep.
Okay. So, and just to throw in, pornography, not cool.
Oh, yes. Pornography. Yeah.
Prostitution, pornography, sex, the whole thing, not cool. It's not okay. So it's infidelity, it's cheating. No, not all men do it, and even if they did, that doesn't mean that they should be. So we're not lemmings. We don't all follow each other off the cliff. So please, women, if he's looking at stuff, it is it's not okay. It's toxic and it's abusive and it's not okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not nice for you either.
No, it's not. That's what I mean. It makes you feel dirty and cheap. And what is he thinking when he said no?
Yes.
No. It's all meant to see. Intimacy. This is a sad thing from the minute. I guess for me, from the Western point of view, I think it's the minute with the sort of sexual revolution in the 1960s, the minute they sort of separated church and state and they took faith and the sacredness out of the activity, it suddenly just becomes animalistic. And this is the society we see today. And that's abusive.
It is.
Basically.
It is. But it's so important that we shed some light on it. And because a lot of people don't realize some of the traits of abusive relationships or abusive partners. And, we talk about the men right now, but let's not forget there are women also. I know it's a small percentage. It's a small percentage, but we also need to be aware that some men can't even talk about it because it's shameful to say that they have an abusive wife, but it's possible. I've actually seen it myself that there is abusive wives.
Yeah. You take advantage of him and his kindness, and you know what, you know how you can tell that is because he's doing everything that God has commanded a husband to do, and she's not coming to the party.
Yeah. And that, I mean, a lot of it is also conditioning as well. Always come back to conditioning, the expectations and stuff. So
yeah. But as you said, I guess it is. It's not the most common because we have been traditionally as women conditioned to, you know, forfeit our wants and desires and that, and and be of service.
Exactly.
You know,
and that's not just in the Asian culture, by the way.
No, God, no.
The world over.
It's absolutely it has. I think it's only been maybe in the last couple of decades that maybe that's kind of been beaten out a bit of the secular Western way of thinking. But only by about 20, 30 years, not that far considering.
Sure.
Yeah. Sign number 5, we did touch on it, I think, earlier in round 1, is he walking on eggshells?
Yes. It's like you're walking in the house and you don't know what to expect. Is there going to be a blow up? Is there going to be some kind of abuse coming your way?
Yep.
Don't know what to expect.
And you don't know what to, I mean, you know, and it can get to the point like you smile, you make a joke, and that leads to
that triggers something in there.
Or, you know, so we're not even talking like having, you know, deep and meaningful discussions about some deep topic that, you know, or a problem. We're just, you know, I know that at one point, you know, when you know, if you find yourself standing, listening out for the footsteps that come to the front door to try and gauge by the sound of the footstep, if it's going to go, not cool.
Yeah, right. Is it going to be an angry day or a happy day?
Yeah. Is he coming home? Yeah. Not cool. So if you're in that situation,
where you're
unsure, and there's this uncertainty and there's the fear and the anxiety, and you kind of find yourself constantly on edge and trying to, you know, big one is that you're constantly trying to make them feel happy. So they're the focus. They're the center of everything, and everything you're doing is about trying to please them, but not in the healthy, happy, grateful sense. It's from a sense of feeling scared and confused, that you know, that if you fear and aversion, that if you don't, like, you're not doing it because of a happiness and a sense of joy, it's trying to prevent something bad from happening. So you're just constantly of service, and that's, again, God said, marriage, tranquility, peacefulness between husband and wife. This is what the you know, it's meant to look like and feel like, and if it's anything other than that, then it's not okay.
Yeah, I love that. Like, exactly. And just living on the edge is really hard work. So I'm just going to open up the floor for questions, and we'll just quickly go through. So if you guys have questions, I'll read some of the comments in a minute. If you go through some of, let's go through the 5 warning signs again. Just read through them and just tell us from 1 to 5 while I have a look at the comments, and I'll ask you some questions.
So number 1 was the top level obvious one of abuse, be it emotional, physical, verbal, spiritual, sexual, or financial. We said sign number 2 was that your spouse is a compulsive liar. We've said sign number 3 is your husband is disinterested, uncaring, and dismissive. We've said sign number 4 is infidelity, being flirting online and offline, sexting, pornography, prostitutes, mistresses, and secret polygamy. We've got final one, number 5, being that you feel like you're on eggshells. You know, you're anxious all the time and nothing feels quite right. Shifting sands.
Yes.
Like nothing is solid under you, and you just really don't know from one minute to the next what's going on. And that can lead to anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses and physical illness, you know, heart problems and everything, you know. So you're not meant to live in a constant state of fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, this is not how we're meant to live.
Fight, flight, or freeze. And you know, that's the scary part. Like, if you're in that state, that's a warning sign. Please take that as a warning sign.
Absolutely, big one.
And also, I just want to say I've linked up the free ebook. So if what we've spoken about is something that you resonate with, there's a free ebook that is exactly what we spoke about today, all the details, so you don't have to worry about writing all that down. We've got that. There's a link that I've pinned on the comment section that you can download. Just go through the process, and it'll go to your inbox. It takes maybe 5 minutes for it to cycle through to your inbox, so just be aware of that.
And it may go to your the welcome, like when you'll get a confirmation email first, and you've got to press the link, and then you'll get the welcome email, and the welcome email is the one that's got the download link in it. And that welcome email might go to your promotions section or text spam, maybe, but it's been going to the promotion section if you've been going, for Gmail. Yeah, I'm a Gmail user. Yeah.
Exactly. So, wow, we've got a lot of people live at the moment.
That is great. Oh, and I just wanted to add to that, everyone who signs up and downloads the email, the extra bonus free gift is that if you sign up, get the ebook, go through it, and find that you still have some issues you want to clarify and decisions you want to make, I am offering a free 30-minute get to know your issues coaching session online through Skype, and so please feel free to
all those contact details.
Go through that, and the contacts these are all in the email, and they are also in the ebook.
Awesome.
So I'm Manifesting Muslima. So we've got a page and a profile. So do click through and like and continue your engagement. And there's I've also got a closed group for women called the New Muslima Network. So I'm marketing as New Muslima because that's what I am, that's what I know, and that. But I'm not excluding Muslim-born women. So please, and I'm sure that there will be lots of commonalities in the issues. So the reason I've done that is because it's sort of what I know in my experience, and I am aware that some of the experiences and barriers to overcoming this issue for ethnic Muslim-born women might be slightly different based on their social cultural context.
Yes.
And I don't have authority in that. And I know that there's loads of other ethnic Muslim coaches and counsellors that can work from that space because they know it. They've lived it.
I think you know. I think you can.
I do know a fair bit, so somebody said. But what I'm saying that is, do come and join. Send in the request to join the group as well. It's a secure space, safe space for women to talk about maintaining their faith, keeping their faith in the face of abuse, because that's actually ultimately what I'm wanting to work with. Because sadly, a lot of convert women who go through toxic relationships early on in their path on the deen throw the baby out with the bathwater, and they leave Islam because there's there's a lot of have pressure to it takes a lot of strength and courage to make the leap, and if you don't have the support of your Muslim community you married into, and then a lot of converts don't sort of have the old familial or cultural connections pre-Islam, so they kind of just go, well, it's a lot easier just to not be Muslim anymore.
I've got a question.
That's really sad.
I've got a question for you that has come in from Miss Bar. Okay, so we talked about the eggshells situation. So Miss Bar asks, could you elaborate on the walking on eggshells concept? What if they're fine when they walk in, but are often easily riled by what you say or what you want to do?
That is exactly it. Yeah, that when you're dealing with sort of a sociopathic, narcissist, toxic kind of abusive husband, that is exactly what the problem is. And so you don't know. They could exactly come in the door and be fine because they are fine with their mates and their workmates and all the rest of it, and they're still feeling okay about that. But moments later, they suddenly, and you think, oh, brilliant, you take a sigh of relief, he's come in the door, cool, so we might have a really nice night this evening, deep breath, okay, great, and then suddenly they blow up. And so the eggshells thing is this constant state of anxiety and fear.
Yeah, you don't.
This is what it
It's
is.
like, just imagine the whole, like, if you had full eggs in your house on the floor and you don't want to crack them. That's what it is.
Eggshells. Yeah.
You're walking on it and hoping that you don't crack those eggshells.
Or slip on the gooey egg that's broken. Like,
yes.
Yeah, that kind of whole thing. You just tiptoeing. You sort of, do I go this way? Do I go that way? If I take it very slowly, maybe, you know, do I smile? Do I look down? Do I look up? And if you're having any of this, like if you've got to sort of have this voice in your head saying, should I do it this way, that way, the other way, because I'm trying to avoid setting him off.
Yes.
Not cool.
Yes. That's a massive warning sign.
Massive.
You know, when you're walking in the house and you're expecting to just walk in the house, like, this is my house. I'm supposed to be.
This is the safe place.
Yes, that's what a house should be.
Yeah. You walk in, and this is the place where you can drop everything, and it's cool and it's safe, and so if you're actually the opposite, and it's like
anxious, scared,
if you feel more safe and secure and calm everywhere else except your home, this is not cool.
Yes, exactly. And hold on, I'm just seeing if there's any other comments, because technology is doing really well for me. But we've got a lot of people watching right now. So how
many people? See, I can't see all that.
Well, nor can I. But now I'm looking. There's 34 people watching. I'm like, wow.
Oh, wow.
How do you get that many people watching?
Hello, people. Thank you.
Now we have 43. Wow. So hello. If you guys have questions, do ask.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to answer them. There's almost 50 people watching now, so it looks like we're talking about interesting stuff.
Thank you. That's great.
Everybody seems to just like to be watching and not asking questions, which is fine. We're good with that. So if you're watching this and you actually want to have a copy of what we spoke about, do sign up on the link on the pinned comments there, the free ebook. It will detail everything on there. So I know we've been talking for ages. However, I wanted to quickly talk about exit strategies.
Yes.
What to do if you know and realize that you are in one of these relationships. What should you do?
First of all, if you're in any physical danger, your life is under threat, you and your children, immediately call the police. Or I know maybe the problem with Pakistan was the police didn't help women. So depending on where you are in the world, this might be actually the truth. So I know that there, like in Pakistan, there's Madadgar. It's a national hotline for domestic violence. There are groups, women's shelters and groups.
Find a women's shelter.
Find a women's shelter and get out. Get you and your kid get out.
Can I ask her something about that? Someone had told me about this. They were from India, and they said that, I said, they were in this situation. I said, well, find a women's shelter or get and plan an exit plan. But like, if they went to a women's shelter, then it would mean that they are dobbing on their husband. And
hijab or marriage thing. Yeah, that got thrown, that you're not allowed to talk about what's going in. Again, nonsense. God tells us very clearly that we must speak up against injustice
and oppression.
We must speak against injustice. We must take hand against injustice. It's not sabr, it's not patience to live in abuse.
Yes.
It's not. And in fact, the twist on it goes,
there's no gold trophy for you at the end if you sit there with abuse. And the premise of that is like the ladies that I've spoken to said that if you go to a women's shelter, then it's shameful for the family that you've gone to a shelter. However, the bigger picture here is that if you have children involved, what message are you sending your children if you stay?
Exactly. We're back to just continue teaching the same nonsense one generation after another. And as to it being shameful, well, then I kind of go, well, they should feel ashamed. So what if it is? But it's not a shame to you. The shame is not on you that you find yourself in a position where you're with a husband who's not treating you properly. The shame is on them.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
And plan. And when we talk about this exit strategy, is to find your support person.
Absolutely.
Find the support
Yep.
network that you can get.
Absolutely. And this is where, we're really fortunate with having the internet. Even though you might be talking to a woman that's on the other side of the world, that can just be the start of a support to help you sort of get your head around, to then find groups of women near you.
Yes.
But speak to your family. First of all, the women, speak to your family. I mean, again, within the ethnic Muslim context and joint family systems and all the rest of it, speak to you. Tell your father, tell your mother, tell your brothers, tell your cousins.
Yes.
Tell them.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. And you know, a lot of people might think that, oh, you might not, they might look down on you because you may have wanted to get married to this person and they said no, and you know, all this kind of stuff. Let that go. You couldn't have told what the future was going to be. Let that go. Your safety and your family's safety is so important.
And look, that's what actually happened. Like, look, even if, you know what, even if there is a little bit of "I told you so" from some family members,
that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Part of your lesson learned is to acknowledge that, well, okay, maybe this guy you married that you thought the world of was not actually, if you really look on it, was not actually behaving in a God-fearing manner to begin with.
Yeah.
And maybe these family members saw that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But we live and learn. We have to, and I think, as a lot of women go into marriage fully, genuinely loving this man and wanting the most pious and into Jannah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I used to always say with him. I'd pray into Jannah in this life and the next. And you can't regret loving. You can't regret being genuine. You just don't. Just understand and see.
You can't tell the future. You can't see how it's going to unfold. And I think, like, people think that it's, they may regret getting married to someone, but I like to look at it in a different way, to say that it was a lesson. Like, now you know what what the warning signs are now, right?
Yeah. And so on that level, armed with some warning signs, you can somewhat tell the future, in the sense of, if someone is. And see, the thing is, I'll say straight out, when I look at it, and if you're really honest with yourself, you realize that this person wasn't behaving properly before the marriage.
Yeah.
You kind of just washed over it.
But you were giving them excuses.
Excuses.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know whether this is an accurate hadith or not. I'd need to find this one out. But I kept being told something about 72 excuses.
Yeah, to give someone.
I don't know what that is, but I'm going, no. If they're not doing the right thing to begin, like they're actually abusive,
exactly.
There's no excuse. Not 72.
There is no excuse for abuse. Exactly. Oh, that rhymes. So we have another question. Misbah asks, what if they seem to be changing? They're holding their peace, but the toxic behavior surfaces now again. I think we touched on this a little bit, but could you just elaborate on this?
I think that to know that someone, I mean, if he has, he needs first to get to counselling, So I think if a husband who has been previously abusive and says he wants another chance, needs to actually prove that he is capable of being trustworthy. One of the signs for me would be that he has gotten himself into some sort of therapeutic help, and he's taking that seriously, and you're taking
the relationship seriously,
and other relationships, because actually what you realize when you look at it is that they've not been they've probably got toxic relationship with other people as well. So you'll start sort of seeing that if this man is serious, he's in some kind of therapeutic care, be it a men's group or seeing a counsellor on his own, and he's actually working on his behaviour change. And it's got nothing to do with, it's all about him changing because he realises that he needs to do that. The fact that you might benefit as a byproduct is one thing, but it's not to get you back. It's not about, it's not as a form of manipulation to make you sort of return. It's him and his thing, and he's working on it, and it could take years.
You have to be ready for that, though.
Yeah,
And, you know, and this is where we talk about boundaries and knowing when enough is enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, totally.
And
And
you
that's
know, the
and for
toxic
me,
behavior comes and goes, and that's really important to know.
oh, but it
that,
does. Yeah, it's a cycle. Yeah, look, very, very rarely is it just raging bull 24/7. No, it's not. It's not. There's a cycle of abuse. They go from being charming to get what they want, and if they don't get what they want by being charming, they'll then get sort of evasive, and that's where the lying comes in. And if you catch them out and try and hold them to account, that's when the abuse comes in, and then it all sort of. And then when you've put your hand up and gone, I can't take anymore, then they kind of might fall on the sayings, fall on their sword, go, all woe is me, so that you have to then focus all your attention on, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to upset you, that kind of, and yeah, not said humorously, but they might sort of, I'll kill myself kind of thing, or I'll harm myself kind of thing, and that's designed to make you stop thinking about the boundary issues that have been, you know, violated against you, and that you've suddenly got to go into carer mode again. And it's just, you know, because you're not responsible. Like, that's their choice. You're not responsible.
You can't be responsible for their behavior. And I think this is one of the things that people don't realize, is that you have to understand that they are their own person and you are your own person, and happiness only comes from within yourself, and you can't take happiness from them, and they can't take happiness from you. They have to have that within themselves. And when they are having a moment, that is because they don't know how to control those emotions or whatever's going on the inside. It's got nothing to do with you. Like, we can be angry with people, but we've got the ability to control that.
Yeah, and we do. Yeah, and so if you're being told, you made me angry, no. No.
Yeah.
You may have done something that might have been displeasing.
Yes.
We're not saying that, you know, people, and I mean, when we say that no one, you know, someone can't take away your happiness, that's your inherent state of well-being, is ultimately yours to, you know, if you're in a situation, an environment that is causing you fear and anxiety and anything but happiness, then you need to make the choice to put yourself in an environment that allows your natural happiness to come. So they can muck up they can mess with it.
Yeah, for sure.
But in the end, it's your choice to say enough.
It always is your choice, and people don't realize that we have choices, and this is part of the codependency situation with emotions, and that we don't own our own emotions. So know that you actually own those emotions, and know that you can make that choice, and you don't have to rely on someone to make that choice for you.
No. But that's not to diminish that a lot of women are in situations that make it difficult to make that choice. They maybe don't have any other relatives or family around them. They've been isolated from friends. They don't have an income of their own. It does take part of these steps to what to do. Why, you know, reach out and speak to someone, preferably a professional, because they will be able to help you do things like prepare a handbag that maybe has got all your paperwork in it, some money in it. It might be that you need to quietly
leave the country.
Time, well, you know, squirrel away a little bit of the change from the groceries or whatever, put it in, and the handbag is in someone else's house.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got a safe place, your friend.
Because sometimes the plan to leave might not happen immediately.
No.
And you have to plan ahead. The thing is, you need to plan, because a lot of people think, I want to leave, and they can leave immediately, but they don't have a plan in place. Some people, they can do, like, I'm not saying you can't do that.
No. And sometimes you have to. Sometimes you do just have to pick yourself up, your kid and your wallet, and go with the clothes on your back, and that is it. And if you're in that situation, and the beauty of being Muslim and knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always open doors for us, for our safety, where he doesn't want us in a state of insecurity and harm. And when we realize that our sense of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is based in the fact that we protect the body and the soul that's on loan from him. It's not our right to allow it to be harmed by another person. So in fact, not only is it not a sin to leave a toxic marriage, it's actually a requirement.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's intense. So tell me, okay, I'm just going to open up the floor again. If you guys have any other comments, let me know, or any other questions, because I know there's a heap of people watching, sitting there quietly listening to us.
Hello, people.
Hello. And we apologize previously for any IT issues, but thanks for joining. You have missed out on a lot, just saying. But if you want to rewatch,
it is recorded, and this is going to be so
you'll be able to watch it after once we've stopped. And the ebook that comes with this is pinned in the comments, so you can sign up with Zara. She has the ebook to talk about exactly what we talked about today, so you really don't need a pen and paper. You can just listen to us talk and break down these things. So if there's any other questions, let us know. I know you guys are watching. Holy smokes, there's 65 people watching.
Oh my god.
Hello. So
please go sign up. Go sign up.
Sign up. Yeah, just go sign up for the
sign up to get the ebook. Women, guys, sorry if I've got guys watching here, but I work with women.
For ladies.
This is, I mean, no, the guys can download the ebook, but the coaching service is for women. I work with women. So
if you're a guy and you need coaching services, let me know. I know a good brother or two that does that. You can just private message me, and I'll give you their contact details. They do online coaching for brothers in this realm of what we're talking about here. Zara specifically focuses on Muslim women. So when you do download the ebook that she's got there for free, there's also a free 30-minute coaching session to get to know what the issues are, so that you can target the solutions. So you can contact her through that. So make sure you download the ebook. It's in the ebook. I think it's on the last page, the last few pages. There's an email address there, and
plus the Manifesting Muslim profile.
Oh yes.
We've got a page.
Yes.
We've got the profile, and I have the New Muslim Network closed group. Facebook group for women.
Beautiful.
So ping that across, and I will add you. And as I said earlier, although I am marketing as working with converts, because I am one, but that's not at the exclusion of Muslim-born women, because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of stuff in common that we experience, being Muslim and the modern world. So don't let the new Muslim coach feel that I'm excluding you, because I'm not.
Yes. Excellent. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. It has been what an epic chat that we've had today.
It's been massive. God, we can talk, can't we? Jeez.
Yes. But it has been really good, because we really debunked a lot of stuff and talked about some of the really big warning signs. So I hope the ladies will jump on and grab that ebook, and don't forget to go through a process. You need to confirm your email address, and then a second email will come out
with the download in it,
and then you'll get the download in it. Okay, so make sure you do that. And I will put links down on your pages, which pages you're at, the Manifesting Muslim page, and all that kind of stuff. And then you can join her group as well. So I'm going to say I'm going to love you and leave you on Facebook. All these people on Facebook, we're going to end it. And if you have any questions, do send us some messages
PM
or
me,
some comments or whatever.
Email. I mean, you can either email, you can PM. I've got a blog as well. The links are all there. I mean, you'll see the links to everything: Twitter, Instagram, a blog. I'll have a subscription website up, inshallah, next year.
2018 is the
it's going to be mega, absolutely. Totally, for all of us, inshallah. So anyway, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for entertaining us. We love you, and inshallah we can do something similar again, because it seems like this has benefited many people. If this has benefited you, please like this and share this along to your groups.
Please. Yes, absolutely.
And let people know that
and
this
sign
has
up
been
and
make sure you sign up as well, because then you'll get all the notes as well.
You will.
All right, so I'm gonna end.
Go the waving and the Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.